So this is my muffler on my 3751. I already pulled the outside, the tailpipe went up over it and rusted off, came off. This one's still got the sleeve of the old one on there, so I'm getting ready to cut it off, and then I can mount the new ones to it. So even though it looks like I have cheap dual exhaust, but it's really cheaply done. They're both coming out of the same muffler. They're 2.5-inch pipes, just to give you an idea what they are. So I just started my bus, and we put the new exhaust tips on there. It had a cloud of smoke when it started, and it didn't do that at my sister's house either, so 20 miles ago. And it sounded off. It had a little vibration. I gave it a little throttle and it went up. The vibration went away. I thought, well, that was weird. Shut it off, started again, it did another cloud of smoke. So I said, something's going on. So I pulled the valve cover off. The first thing that I noticed, laying down there in the bottom, that's what holds the valve in, holds the spring down. And then there's a keeper laying there for a valve, and a keeper laying there for a valve, and then now that is turned sideways. And that spring, that valve spring down there, is totally loose. So I have dropped a valve on my brand new head. This wouldn't have been able to turn until that part came off. So that happened first. That really sucks. So, oh. I don't know what kind of damage. Unfortunately, this isn't one that I can see through the inspection hole. But I'm going to go ahead and start pulling this apart. I can bypass the cylinder and drive it with 5 cylinders. But I'm 90% sure that my brand new head is toast. Okay, so I just pulled the spring, it was just laying in there loose. The valve is up in there at its height. So it's either wedged in there, or let's just say those valve guide seals are really tight. I haven't tried to move it yet. I'm afraid to do that because I'm sure that the piston has hit it. But we'll see. There's nothing holding it tight now, so that cylinder would just be leaking air, but that's all just a pipe dream shit. I mean, it's got to be messed up. So these keepers are really chewed up, and the inside of it is severely worn, and the taper is off. I don't know if you can see all that or not, but they are messed up. I do carry some extras of these, but we'll see what's going on. Oops. Now I have one. So I turned it over so that in the position where this would be top dead center, and then went just a little bit beyond it, and then that gave me enough courage to tap on this valve to see if it would move. And it did. It went down until it touched the piston, a 1/16 of an inch or so. And then I turned the engine over by hand more to lower the piston down a little bit, and it moves pretty freely up and down. And then I brought the piston back up and let it push the valve up. And it brought it up, and I can spin it around and I can feel it. So I don't know if it's messed up or not. I'll put it back together here. I've got some extra keepers. The valve doesn't look damaged on the top end. Of course, that's a cylinder. I can't get it to an inspection cover on it. I'd have to take the blower off, and I don't want to do that right now. So I'm going to put the valve back together, and I'm going to do a compression test on this cylinder and see where we're at. But luckily I've got spare parts to put it back together, but I still don't know why it would have come apart like that. So I went through my spare parts and I found two brand new keepers. So I'm going to take my valve spring compressor and put that valve spring back on. It looks straight. Looks fine. We'll see how this goes. Had a dumbass moment there for a second. Dang it. I'm trying to do too much at once here. That is not a happy puppy.
It wants inside. She wants inside. I just texted him. Said, come get the dog.
Let's see how this goes. Of course, it's the hard one to get to. Oh, and I got those things in too far. Damn it.
She's in there. So then you have to pop up. Did that work?
Doctor?
Okay. Hold the mag.
Yeah, magnet. The right height. Oh, maybe not. No, it's a little bit off. Yeah. So it's probably the edges on it are boogered up.
It's not tying off. That's what you're saying?
It's like on this one here, when I push on it,
Yep.
they both move at the same time. This one, the one is moving before that one. See? Which I can compensate for that with this adjustment here.
Yeah.
Let me do that. Nothing's taken out the injector tip. That's a good sign. Because if the valve would have totally come apart, then sometimes that gets mashed in there too and doesn't even come out.
That looks good. I got more trays.
Holy shit.
I just sent it. Oh, you got to
Yeah, I gotta use the same hold down clamp.
The same thing that holds down the injector holds this down. Hyper lube on it.
extra slippery.
Yeah.
Is going to be okay like this?
No, I'm not flipping that cover, but I had another fuel jumper that I brought up. So I'm putting a fuel jumper on here, so there's no fuel going to where the injector was. If you left this off, fuel would just squirt out of here like crazy. Just slightly snug is fine. They're only like 15 foot-pounds to begin with. I'm going to go ahead and put these back together, not tight, but just so that it's not flopping around when the engine's running. Just have one way they go. One side is machined and the other side's not, so. So nothing can come
Is the
apart.
injector one going to clear that hose there?
It's pretty damn close. But yeah, it's gonna clear it.
You can kind of hold it up out of the way if you want.
Yeah. So if it gives me any number other than 0, I'm gonna be absolutely amazed. Let me go show Scott how to start.
From recording.
That would be a big fat 0.
Oh my freaking god.
That's what I figured.
Do you want to comment on that?
Nope. So I put it back together without this valve bridge in, so that valve doesn't go up and down at all. And then the fuel injector is bypassed, so the fuel is just going by. So the cylinder's not going to be wasting fuel. We're just going to pull it into the barn here at Scott's, and I'm going to go ahead and pull the head. But I needed this so that the oil doesn't get diluted with fuel, and then I don't want to risk something happening to that valve. Talked to Joe, another Detroit diesel mechanic who's worked on Scott's bus before. He's about 2 hours away. Real knowledgeable guy. He thinks maybe I just have a bent valve, that the symptoms of what happened, that maybe the valve's just bent, and that he can regrind the valve seat and we can just put a new valve in it and be okay. He also mentioned if I tested the valves when I got him back from the machine shop, he hit him with a hammer, and it'll make sure that those keepers are seated, or if not, they'll fly across the room. And I didn't do that. And we know that the one, when we got it, remember the spring was crooked on there. I don't remember which cylinder that was. Regardless, he's got a head gasket set. I was afraid to pull the head. If I pull the head, then I'm not running. So right now I can run fine on 5. But he's got a head gasket set. So if I get it apart and I can't find a new head by Monday, we need to be at Burning Man by Thursday. And I had 2 clients scheduled, which I could, I guess I could push back. But let's see if I can get this done here over the weekend. Everything happens on a Friday, smoke comes out of the back of it at, 10 minutes to 5 on a Friday. That's how it goes. So anyways, I'm gonna put the valve cover back on so I don't make a mess and get dust and dirt in the engine, and then pull into Scott's shop here. He pulled his bus out for me, so I can go in there, and then we'll get ready to pull the head on it. Not something I wanted to be doing, but I guess it is what it is.
Yep.
Misjudged. That should be all the upper. I think my aim's good.
Is it a straight shot?
Yeah. There's a couple things that it could hit. So once on this side of the thermostat, it creates a vacuum in the head. So I needed to take something out over here so I could let the air go in.
Yeah. Fun getting it out of the trailer.
I have a pump. Pump it back into the bus.
I love pumps too.
This thing is very hard to get to in the back. You have to use a crow's foot. Not with my fingertips. tips now. Actually turning it, that's good. Oh, it's getting close. Don't drop the nut. Okay, that's off. I gotta disconnect the hose. And then we're golden. Let me throw this apart straight. Let's see.
Likes to stick to the alternator. Nice.
Oh, are you serious? Come on. Just don't want a whole bunch of coolant to go pouring into the head. And there it goes.
Oh, it's that one. Okay, you want me to get a tray? Hold that up and I'll get a little.
It's just what was in the hose.
Okay.
It's not. I'm gonna disconnect this side. Okay.
Pepper.
Be careful because it's just aluminum. Oh, dang it. Oh, I gotta take that out still. Crap. Is this gonna be everything from here to the thermostat?
You've got a whole bunch. Yep.
Now that that's out of the way, I can get to the exhaust manifold back here.
You say it was like 5/16? What you say?
No, 5/8.
You need an extension to get to you?
No. I have a semi-deep. I don't know if a regular one might fit too. That might be a little long. I would try a regular one first. It's gonna be a big washer like that. And one of these bolts on my
This is kind of cockeyed, actually. I'm a little worried about that stuff.
what?
It's got-
I can take that pipe out of the way. There's just one hose clamp right there.
No, the pipe's fine. It's the angle of the sockets that's kind of bugging me.
Okay.
Yeah, open it out there.
Just forgot what I was doing for a second. That's great. And quarter to hold the fitting that's trying to come out with it. This will have coolant time.
Paper towel in
Yeah.
there. Shouldn't be too much.
No, it's just what was in the, because this was like a curl. It should be, I don't know why that compressor's looking like that.
Yeah, it should all be drained over that point.
So you do this in the reverse pattern that you cranked it on with. I'm just cracking them loose. Okay, now we can rattle them off with the gun. Clearance is you.
There's a slightly shorter extension. That'll help. Is this useful at all? Here, use this. Should.
Let go.
Yeah, they're on there good.
Oh, it's not leaking yet. And now I need the 11/16 because this one is 11/16. Put it back. Yeah. And I need a 5/8 wrench for the bottom. It's probably in that tray. That should be it.
that go on that one?
It'll just lay with it and just lay it on the ground. Let's see if that chain is going to let us get it out of there. It's probably.
I think you're gonna have to shorten it
I
up.
think I have to shorten the chain up.
Letting it kind
Just hang out here on this side.
of go.
Yep.
It's a little cockeyed. You gotta come up over here. There you go. Okay. Come on.
Okay, let's start pulling it backwards towards you. Okay, hang on a second. I gotta figure out. Finding me up here. That's fine. That's fine.
We're caught here.
That's hitting. Okay, pull it back a little bit more. Okay, hang on a second. Come back a little more. Let's go in there. Okay, that's all right. We'll clear that in a second there.
This is
Okay, so we
where
just
it come.
I'll tip it as we're not on the center here 100%. So I gotta lift over here.
And we're gonna kind of swing it out this way.
Yeah,
So back and rotate.
you got it. Just come back.
Come back.
It's not. Is it hitting that thing again?
Watch the light.
Yeah, it's
Say it's no big deal. It is gonna fall. Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
grab that drop light. Should I keep coming?
Yeah.
Let's make one cord here.
Okay, a little bit more, and then we'll be able to lower it down.
It says it's hitting that shop rag right there. Kick it out of the way or something that's jammed on it.
Can you go forward a little bit?
Yep.
Okay. Okay, that's good there. Let's let it down slowly.
The cord for the light
Tell
here.
you what.
Can this open in here for
Hang
you?
on a second. Let me get this out of here.
This one's the bottom. You got a big moment of truth right now.
Holy shit. Don't put your head under it. I don't see any
Looks
major
okay.
damage. Yeah. It's not been firing though. I can tell that by the pattern. See the pattern? Everything else has the spray pattern from the fuel.
Yeah, it hasn't been firing for a while then, has it?
Well, I mean, that's just the wet fuel from probably earlier.
That's because you caught it in
Right away.
the first 5 or 10 minutes of it happening.
That is a miracle. But yep, all the other ones are good.
So what about the seating issue then? The
Okay,
compression
let's lower it.
issue?
Let's lower it down, and we'll the valve's got to be bent so it's not
That's
sealed.
Yeah. So are we gonna just drop it right down onto the slab,
Yes.
or do you want to do something else with it?
We normally stick it across.
Yeah, we
The
normally
legs.
just lay it on there, but I like to put cardboard on it or something. It's okay.
Nice.
the way down. These are coming down a little bit more so you can relieve the chain. Okay.
It's that one there, isn't it?
Yep. It's crooked in there. I can see it. It's not centered. See, it's like almost touching here, and there's a huge gap over there.
I didn't look at your piston yet.
That is true, but there's no nick on it, so I'm gonna say that's all gonna be fine and dandy up there. I could see a little dent on there from the valve.
Where at?
Just on the very corner over here. There's just,
Oh, yep.
it's more like just in the carbon. I mean, that might be from when I was dropping it to the piston when we did it earlier by hand, because it's not like a gouge.
That's fine. Yeah.
We got lucky. Lucky, 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 lucky.
Stroke head. Four valve injector.
All right, I gotta take this thing off. It's just in my way.
This fuel.
Yeah. Should be able to get that by finger now. So that's out of the way. This can go backwards. And now I can see what they want to do. All right. Okay, 5/8. You know what? I have a few.
This is 3/8 socket drive here.
I think that thing's 5/8. Or 11/16. Oh shit! I slid it off there. It's like a tapered edge on it. You gotta make sure you got it just right. Sure. Now you stay in your holes.
You want that little magnet thing?
I think I got it. As long as the spring doesn't hit me in the finger. Just have that foot in too far. Watch yourself.
Blowing.
Pieces out of here.
Important pieces.
Okay, let's tip it backwards and we'll pop that valve out. Let's see what the hell we're looking at, and I still cannot believe how lucky I am. 1, 2, 3.
We're coming up on that arm right there or something.
Okay, it's okay. Or, I
Is it gonna bend?
let's slide it up, stand it up so it bounces up.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's okay. It's okay. Yeah, that's fine. Oh. Ooh, I don't want it.
Ooh, he needs a love tap. Your little love tappers over there.
Oh, there it is. The love tapper. That's a little bent.
Yep. Yeah, look at that.
All right, if my glasses weren't so dirty. Something tells me that didn't help. Rubbing my shirt and my gloves. I don't see any scuff marks on the seat at all. So what I'll do is put a new valve in it, and then I'll pour some liquid down in there, like a gasoline or something lightweight like that, and see if it leaks out around it.
Okay. That sounds awesome. What is that seat like? What is that material in there?
It's only really shiny. Get some brake clean. Just get that carbon off there because I want to make sure that the carbon is good. But look at that thing.
Yep.
I don't know if the video camera is doing it justice, but can you see it, Kelly? How the end is wobbled and it's even bent on the shaft.
Look, you didn't fall in there and bang around.
And there's no nick on it like from when it hit a piston or something. It just I'm amazed.
It's literally because you thought it sounded funny and you did not drive it down the highway like that.
Yeah, that's true. Now put the spring back on it and see if it actually seals. That will be the $1,000,000 question. Let's go ahead and lay it back down, but I gotta hold the valve in so we don't bend the valve. Oh, wait, drop it.
One gasket here getting a little.
Those will get replaced with the head gasket set. That's got a little chunk out of it.
Yeah. On the side that goes into the valve.
It's on the underside. It's not. It's not the part that does the keeper, so that's good. It's on the spring side. I get out of this with $100 in parts.
Doing the happy dance.
And the fact that he's got it, I mean, technically I can have it back running tomorrow.
You won't miss Burning Man.
Yeah. Don't hit me in the
What
face.
was that?
That was this thing slipping.
Wait, don't.
Don't point it at my face. Gotta have him out a certain distance. Well, I guess I didn't need to compress it that much.
It's kind of cockeyed in there.
Yeah, that'll straighten out in a second.
It's not cooperating.
No, it's because the other one fell down too far. I need a magnet.
Let me-
Does it look taller than the other one? Or am I just imagining it because it doesn't have oil on it?
I have those calipers. You can do a height measurement on it if you want.
Let's whack it with a hammer. It's up in the air, it's not on the ground. It's definitely working. Alright, let's I'll have to tip it back this way a little bit to get fluid in there. I'll come in through the exhaust port. So right now it would run out.
Right.
Do you have like a little block of 2x4 we could stick under one side?
Of course, yeah.
I don't know.
In two hands.
Yeah, we need 2 hands, but let's raise it up.
Just tip it with one hand and reach it up.
Just like my border. maybe one more 2x4. Let's raise it up to 2. Oh yeah, I can see real good. Okay, what do we have that we can lightweight oil?
Diesel and gasoline, what would you prefer?
Gasoline, probably.
Let me go get you some gas.
Next to the open flame.
Hold that light. How much?
Can't see what you've done, but let me look in there.
Hold that light up in there, look.
Oh, I don't see none coming out yet. Keep pouring in there. I don't see a pool of it yet.
I can kind of stick that in there a ways.
Yeah. There's definitely a pool in there. The valves are fully submerged and there is no gasoline leaking around the valve. Let me see that. So in there is a very large pool of gasoline. If I wiggle it, you can see it is shaking in there on both sides. But this is the side over here on the left. It's 100% submerged, the valve. And then when I go down here on the bottom, can't even see if it's focusing on it. The bad valve was the one on the right of the screen, but there is no gasoline leaking around it. The valve seat is great. Amazing. So I noticed the new valve that we just put in, like the keepers are like pretty much so almost flush with the top. And the one that was next to it, it was not flush. It was like recessed down in there. And then we measured it with a caliper, and I forgot what the difference was. It was like 15 thousandths difference. So I went ahead and pulled the keepers on that one. This was the valve next to the one that fell. Look at all the wear on them there. Even on the outside, see how it's all shiny and silver? It's not supposed to be that color, but you can see this was worn enough and it was letting the valve set deeper.
Well, this was deeper.
This was deeper, yeah. It was down in there, and it was. So I think eventually this one was going to fail too. So I'm going to go through and inspect them all and see if any more of them have that kind of wear on them like that. That's crazy. So now I'm going to go through and check some more, because this one I pulled out just to confirm that they're not supposed to be silver and shiny on one side, and how the inside has got nice and fat there in the middle. That's where the problem is. Where did I put that other one?
The bad ones probably just fell right down there.
Okay. Yeah. So you can see that middle section that holds it in, see how much it's worn away?
There's another one right here.
So this is not the valve that fell. This is the one that was next to it. So I definitely I was getting ready. If I would have just put it together, I would have dropped another valve in short order there.
And flip them over and look at the outside edge.
Yeah,
too.
and the outsides, that one's all worn and silvery when it still should be that color. Same thing. So I gotta go. I'm gonna go check them all, but I'm glad that we caught that, and that's another lucky bullet dodged there.
Good keeper, keeper about to fail.
Yeah.